Coach, I feel like I asked you a number of times this season just how badly you wanted that complete performance, and you really did get it in a number of instances against South Florida. Just how proud were you reflecting on your team's accomplishment this past Saturday?
Really proud, Tim. And I think I said this right after the game. I thought it was the kind of the football team I've been waiting to see all year long. Um, from a perspective that we went out and we competed our tails off, played a fearless style of football, ton of fight, didn't flinch throughout the course of the game with the ups and downs that happened. It was far from perfect, especially it's never as good or as bad as you think it is. You get in here and you watch the film, and we say around here a lot, still a ton of meat on the bone, some things we need to and can do much better. But I was really proud of the fight and the way we competed, played our style of football. It certainly wasn't perfect, but it was good enough to get the win, and they're really proud of our team. Happy for our seniors that those guys got sent out the right way. So it was a good day.
You also had the unique opportunity to watch your son play after Navy's game. To be
Yeah,
able to have a moment like that in season, I imagine it's pretty rare for you. So just how
yeah,
fulfilling was that?
yeah. It was great. It fortunately timed up. We're had a couple of games this season where he played during our game. So of course, my wife Kate went and watched him play as she should. But it timed out pretty good that I was able to go there for the start of the game and got to see him score the only touchdown to get a win. He was pretty fired up. So it was a good day for the Newberry family.
Nathan Kirkwood, Special Teams Player of the Week. Also, Phil Hamilton, Defensive Player of the Week. I want to stick with Nate for a moment because you really praised his growth and his confidence. And he
Yeah,
put that on full display yet again. Just how has this kid been able to be nails in the crunch?
yeah. I think you have to ask him that, and I think he said it was the confidence of the guys around him, and I think confidence in the way his body feels right now too. But he's been an ace for us this year, and I talked about Carlson and the way he punted after the game in the locker room. And I should have brought up Nate as well. Had two crucial field goals and was perfect on his PATs. And he's clutch right now. And I feel really good when we get in that position to send him out there, feel confident about getting 3 points. He's been great.
Thanks, Brad.
Pretty confident if Carlson also could have been special teams player of the week for sure.
No question.
Scott Wyckoff.
Coach, it was about this time last year that Griffin really started coming into his own on the defensive line. What has it meant to have him alongside Landon the way they've been playing together this season?
Yeah, I think Griff's played particularly well the last two games, Scott. So yeah, it's important. I think both those guys have been really sturdy and really good against the run in there, and Griff's starting to come into his own a little bit. I thought he played well Saturday, and I thought the previous week, his two best games throughout the year, and he'll just continue to get better.
Last week, you talked about the importance of the cornerbacks stepping up their game and
Mhm.
Philip making a real impact on this game. What does that mean when a young player can do that at this time of the season where he can really see a light kind of go off and click when you need it?
Yeah, I thought it was a good change we made moving Phillip back there. Um, he's excelled at that faster than I expected him to. Has been a really good player for us. Still learning the position as we go. But yeah, I mentioned it after the game. I said we played two freshmen, really a sophomore, Nick Bell, who's essentially a redshirt freshman, and then Cam Robinson. I thought those guys came out and did some really good things. Uh, made some mistakes, but those guys competed and played style of football we wanted to play. So I was really pleased with those two guys in particular, and those are two guys that have a chance to be really good players for us, and we're going to need them to moving forward. I think having a game under their belt is going to help their growth tremendously. So I was really pleased with those guys and some of the things that they did.
You mentioned both the punting and the place kicking. The kickoff, how important is that as we get to this point of the season in special teams when you've got someone like a Lance Gossett has really developed into a big leg for you, not only putting it out of the end zone, but if it's in play, it looks like it's oftentimes inside the five.
Yeah, I think he's done a nice job. He's gotten better, and I think when he's not kicking in his zone, at least he's getting some height on his ball, some hang time, and I think our coverage unit has been really good. Discipline in the way we cover. playing with great effort, physicality, and I thought they did that on Saturday. I thought we played well on special teams Saturday.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Scott.
Wags.
Just overall, I mean, I would call that victory clutch in terms of how things were, two losses in a row.
Yep.
Obviously, everybody's worried about your November and the tough challenge that you faced. Home game, senior day, all of what went into it. Do you agree that that was a really clutch victory, a critical victory?
Yeah, I would agree with that. You kind of got your backs against the wall a little bit, and, coming off 2 disappointing performances, and then playing the top 25 football team. Um, I thought it was exceptional. And so and we try to take it one game at a time, whether we win or whether we lose. And I think our guys have done a good job of building off of the previous game, week to week, and I think we certainly did that. And again, I love the way that our guys competed and fought Saturday. It's a gritty football team. It's a resilient football team. Playing a lot of young guys, and proud of the growth that I've seen. And I hoped we would peak earlier on in the season, and we're still in that process. But I think at a point now we're playing our best football, hopefully, and we'll continue to get better.
Obviously, so much went into that game, and certainly some spectacular plays on offense with explosive plays. I guess A, talk about that, and then B, the other part. I thought ultimately the difference in that game occurred in the first half with your defense holding them to 9 points, which enables you to get a 15-point cushion of which you needed every point. Can you talk about the explosive plays on offense and what the defense did in the first half to set the stage for victory?
Yeah, well, the explosives are the key to any game, and we've been pretty exceptional getting explosive plays on offense all year. We had a bunch of those in the first half. I think you look at the third quarter, we didn't have any explosive plays, but we were able to possess the football. I think South Florida had 2 possessions there in the third quarter, so we were able to dominate the time of possession. But yeah, we rely on them. And if teams are doing some of the things, the South Florida was doing to stop the run, then we need to be able to hit some of those plays, and we were able to. So really pleased with that. Defensively, 8 possessions for them in the first half. They only give up 9 points, and it was 16 points through 3 quarters. I thought was pretty exceptional. The fourth quarter, wheels kind of fell off the bus on a couple of those drives, and we had some busts and some missed tackles that are unacceptable. But I thought our guys competed. I thought they played well. I thought we got off the field some critical situations. I got some big time stops, set our offense up a really good field position. We got them pinned down inside the 5 twice and forced 3 and outs there. And so really proud of a lot of what we did defensively on Saturday. Again, a lot of room for improvement. Certainly made some mistakes. I got the ball thrown overhead a couple times. I had some busts on the back end, situations where we felt like we could have gotten off the field there in the second half and didn't execute like we needed to. But if you do that, if you execute in those situations, it may be a 17-point win. So as happy as you are to get the win, again, there's a lot that we can do better and need to do better, and the things that we can control, fortunately, and we'll attack those things this week and be better next time we step on the field.
So obviously it's a very difficult conference, and what you got is teams beating up on each other, and people are taking losses as a result when you're playing these up at the top tier of the league. No idea how the college football playoff rankings will come out, but if it benefits James Madison, that's a difficult pill to swallow. That kind of talk about that and where you feel that the American is deserving of, consideration for the playoff, and then B, do you worry about all the various scenarios as to how tiebreakers fall and how it impacts Navy, what you have to do to get in, or do you just worry about beating Memphis?
Yeah, I think you just got to worry about beating Memphis, Wags, and let it play out how it plays out. I mean, you got to control the controllables and can't really worry about much else. Of course, you think about it a little bit. This is the best Group of 5 league in the country. I don't think anybody would question that. But yeah, teams have beat up on each other a little bit. When you got a team like Memphis, as talented as they are, with 3 losses in the conference, and now South Florida with 2 losses and several one-loss teams, it's it's a really, really good conference, especially when you're talking about the teams, the top 5 or 6 teams, right? And there's some things that are going to happen here in the next couple of weeks that might surprise some folks too. And so, but all we can do is control the things that we can control, and that's getting ready for Memphis right now.
Wyatt Popelman.
Hi, Coach. After the way your defense handled South Florida's tempo, what's the emphasis look like this week as you begin to take a look at what Memphis does so well? Are you looking to build on the improvements you saw from the defense against the Bulls, or does that team in Memphis force a little bit of a different approach?
That's a little different approach, Wyatt, but it's the same thing every week. Man, how can we get better? You know, because at the end of the day, it's about us um, executing, right, and doing the things we need to do to be successful. And you know, and I love the way that our kids come out and prepare, whether it's a win or a loss, and attack the things that they know we've got to get better at. And the coaches do a great job with that. And so, how much better can we get here um, in the next almost 2 weeks before we take the field again? And our guys take a lot of pride in that. And yes, Memphis certainly presents its own set of problems, and a really talented football team. So we got a huge challenge in front of us getting ready for them.
What level of initiative do you see from seniors, other experienced players on both sides of the ball to keep this team focused as it's now still 10 days away from playing a game?
Yeah, same focus I've seen, you know, all year long. Those guys, um, these guys love playing together. Uh, it's really, really important to them. They want to win football games, and so these guys they embrace the process the way you would hope a team would embrace the process, understanding that that's going to impact the result, obviously, and but they've been great about that all year, and I don't expect that to change.
And how encouraging was it to see Braxton make such an impact with his legs, especially in a matchup featuring one of the nation's best dual threats in Byron Brown?
Yeah, he's a special talent. There's no doubt about it. And I was really happy that he got the opportunity to go in there and capitalize on the opportunity. Our team has a lot of confidence in number 5 right now, and so does our staff. And so to have that luxury of having 2 guys that you feel like you can win with is huge. And I think that was another great opportunity for Braxton to build some confidence in himself. Um, and so you know, I thought he was outstanding. He's going to be our player of the game because of what he came in and did. Not just running the football, but throwing it. Thought he was exceptional when he had an opportunity on Saturday. It's great to see.
Thank you.
All right, we'll make another trip. Tim Nolan.
Coach, undefeated season for Naps, capped by the win against the Military Academy. How proud are you just of the comprehensive excellence of this program?
Really proud. It's one of the things I felt like you know, we really need to attack. And when I got this job was, you know, what we were doing, taking a hard look at everything that we were doing at the prep school, the way we were preparing those guys, and developing those guys, retaining those guys when they were there. And so I think 2 consecutive undefeated seasons at the prep school speaks to the job those coaches are doing up there. And also the way that we're recruiting to them. You know, we played both the academies this year, our prep school and beat Air Force 35-7, and then went up to West Point and beat those guys up there. And so it's, and you know, we felt great about the recruiting class that we sent up there, but to see them go undefeated and to hear the good things over here, and not just about the football part of things, but how they're doing academically, how we're retaining those guys, and you know, that's the lifeblood, you know, of our program is the prep school, and so really important that we develop those guys the right way, that we retain them and get them here to the academy, and when they do get here, what we've noticed the last 2 years is that those guys are further ahead. You know, they understand what we're doing, X's and O's, Y's on both sides of the ball. They speak the language. Those coaches are doing a great job of preparing them for when they do get here so they can hit the ground running.
How much involvement are you allowed to have on a week-to-week basis of overseeing the Naps players' continued growth?
You know, we treat them just like we do high school players, right? Because technically, it's our most important recruiting class. And so there's NCAA rules in regards to how much contact you can have. But any chance that we get, you know, we're going to send coaches up there to see those guys. We're going to reach out to them, phone calls and messages and things like that. So very involved, and you know, and constant communication with the coaches up there and how those guys are doing, academically, and how they doing football wise, how they doing mentally. So we keep pretty close tabs on them, Tim.
And then the senior speeches on Friday evening. What moved you the most about those?
Yeah, it's always it's amazing. I'm always so impressed with those guys when they stand up there and talk about their experience here and how well they're able to articulate things and express the emotions and the feelings they have about it. And it's always been one of those things. It's a great message to the younger players when those guys get up and talk, because those are the guys that are going through some of the things that the seniors went through earlier on in their careers here, and to hear them talk about the frustrations and the difficulties and how they overcame those things and stayed the course, and how things turned out the way they wanted them to, and how grateful they were to remain part of the program, and special to hear. But it's to see too the development, the growth of those guys from the time they get here as plebes till senior night, and to hear those guys talk about the experience and the perspective they have on things is special. And it's I've said this a bunch, man, it's a special class. Certainly has a special place in my heart and the staff's heart. I know that, and we're going to miss those guys big time. But I think they've been phenomenal throughout their entire time here, and they're going to leave a legacy, and they're continuing to do that right now, and hopefully we can finish this thing up the right way. But they've been awesome. It was great to hear those guys get up and kind of share what was on their heart and mind, and give advice to the younger players. And just always super impressed with these guys when they get up and they talk, and they're a little vulnerable, and they talk about their experience here and what they've learned and how they've grown. It's one of those things you wish you could share with everybody else, but it's kind of a personal deal, but it was awesome, special.
Thank you.
Wyckoff.
Kind of a unique, I guess, for lack of a better word, mini bye week. How do you adjust the preparation for that dynamic of having this week without a game on Saturday, but then the next week, an early week with the game on Thursday?
Yeah, certainly a different type of schedule. We're this time of year, everybody's pretty banged up, Scott, as are we. So I wanted to give our guys, I think having 2 consecutive days off is really, really important, and those guys need it. So we gave them Sunday, gave them off today. We'll practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we'll give the guys off Friday, Saturday, 2 more consecutive days, and then Sunday will become like a Tuesday practice for us, if that makes sense. And then we'll proceed like a normal work week leading into a Thursday game.
What does it say about Blake? Watching the replay of the game on the big touchdown pass run by Alex Teska, he actually is on his tail almost the whole way down the field. You don't see a lot of quarterbacks almost beating the guy with the ball into the end zone.
Right.
What does that say about?
Yeah. I think it speaks to the effort that we play with. I think on that same play, you see a lot of guys running, catching up the defenders and making a block. I think we're playing harder than them in that one particular play. It's a great example of just how hard we play and how much our players care about each other, and how much they celebrate the success other guys have.
When you see a player come in from maybe a Florida or maybe a South Texas or a California, do you see them kind of evolve when things get a little bit cooler and a little more raw in practice as they develop and get a little bit older and get used to that?
I don't think it's ever really been something I've thought much about, to be honest with you, Scott, or even noticed. Certainly is starting to cool off a little bit. We haven't had any bitter cold days or anything like that, but our guys have handled that pretty well.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
Josh Guerin ran by the USF guy on that touchdown run too.
Yeah, sure did.
Wags.
Some injury report. The way it sounded from Coach Cronick when I asked him last week about Cody Howard, it didn't sound like, is he done for the season?
Yeah. Most likely, Wags.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because he's been a great player for us, and the great thing about Cody, man, is he's, even though he's not playing, he's continued. He's at practice. He's coaching the young guys up. He's every bit as passionate, energetic, as he was when he's playing, and he's been a fantastic leader for us, and he's continuing to do that. And hate it for him, hate it for our team that he's not able to play, but he's making the most of his situation.
And then Hoke Smith left the game and did not return. What's his status? And also, how did you think that Jake Polito played in his place?
Yeah. Well, I thought Jake did some really good things. I thought he got better as the game went on, and I think that game's going to pay off big time for him moving forward. Hope's going to be kind of a day-to-day deal. Was it an MCL grade 2 sprain? So he'll be. We'll just have to see how he progresses. Wag. So I can't say one way or the other right now.
And this is a little bit oddball, but our paper is doing special features for each reporter on their beat is to ask people, as you move here close to Thanksgiving, what are you thankful for? When you sit down on Thanksgiving Day and say thanks, what are you thankful
Yeah.
for, Brian?
So many things. Thankful to be the head coach at the United States Naval Academy. I got to pinch myself every day, but just to have. And when you love coming to work, it doesn't feel like work. And we've got phenomenal young men in our program. We've got a phenomenal staff, and I'm thankful to be a part of that. And thankful to have a happy and healthy family. I mean, those are easy answers. It sounds like, but that so much to be thankful for. I could go on and on, Wags, but those are two things that pop for me right now.
Are you thankful to still be in contention for the American Conference Championship game?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Thankful to still be playing meaningful football games. At this point in November.
You were fourth on the list, Wags, but you ran out of time.
Yeah.
Hi, Opelman.
Coach, you mentioned how different of a week this looks in terms of scheduling practices and giving rest to the players. What do you and the staff plan to do a mini self-scout over these next few days as well to pinpoint areas where the team can keep improving, or is it more of a practice focus here?
Well, it's both. That's something we always do. Why week to week. When you have a bye, it allows you to dive into that maybe just a little bit more. But yeah, that's something we try to do every week.
And you mentioned Phil Hamilton and the growth he's had in that safety spot. With him being recognized for the conference after forcing a fumble, making the interception, what does his development as a sophomore say about what Coach Volker has expected out of the first-year starters on the D?
I think he's been outstanding. You started the corner early on in the year for us, and you love about Philip, man, is he loves football. He's a competitive dude. He's a really, really smart football player. Practices and plays with phenomenal energy as a leader in that room. And I think his better days are still ahead of him. But he's starting to kind of settle into that role at safety and get a lot more comfortable with it. He was one of those guys that made some mistakes in the second half and relatively new to the position. And you're playing a team that's as good and talented as South Florida that goes fast. There's a lot going there. But I've been really, really pleased with Philip. He's done some really good things for us, and he plays our style of football. Wyatt.
And what do you hope this team has learned about itself in taking down one of the highest tempo offenses in the country? Good win at home on Senior Day, grabbing that key win heading into Memphis next week.
Well, I hope it shows them how good we can be. When we're hitting on all cylinders. I don't think our football team realizes just how good it can be. And that gives you flashes of it right there. And I think you beat a team like South Florida and you come in here and you see all the things that you can and should have done better in the course of the game. Right, then you start to wonder, well, how much better can we be? And so I think we're starting to hit our stride a little bit, Wyatt. Like I said, there's so many things that a lot of the issues on Saturday are things that we can get corrected. They're not a talent issue or something like that or a deficiency. Not to say that we don't have a little bit of that, but it's more from an execution standpoint. Our kids play extremely hard, and when we match that with execution, we're a really, really good football team. So that's what we got to build on moving forward.
Thank you.
Anyone have anything else for Coach? Last call. Wags, I know
Just
you
one
do.
question, Coach. How much does it, I don't know what the word would be. Gratifying is it when a guy like Alex Golesh, who you respect, who's a great coach, says that Navy is a really tough and gritty team? He said multiple times in his post-game presser. about how tough and gritty your team is, that's exactly what you want to be.
100%. I didn't hear the post game presser now, but I also got a lot of respect for Alex and the job that he's done there. I think he's a really, really good football coach, and so for him to say that, means a lot. And I agree with him. I think that's who we are. So it's good to hear your opponent say that. No question.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Anyone have anything else? All right. Thanks a lot, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
All right, guys.